Good evening. It's August 9th, 2018. It's 6:22.
29th, sorry.
Excuse me?
29th, August 29th.
29th, I'm sorry.
Mistake. 6:22.
29. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Commissioners present.
Nancy Vukovic.
George Slingo.
Frank Aldecki.
Fran Mikulajczyk.
Okay, first on the agenda is Lot 15, Pondview Terrace. Notice of intent to remove trees. And this is a public hearing, so I will open it up at 6:23. Hello.
Hi there. So we filed the notice of intent a few months ago, and we finally got a DEP number from the state
Yep.
to cut trees and stuff. So we just kind of want to get your blessing and go what we need to do to get started.
Okay. Is there anything from Nat on this?
Yes, he said to approve the order of conditions with the following conditions on.
Our consultant
Butters.
said to issue an order with the following conditions: inspections by a wetland consultant for the erosion and a pre-condition meeting,
Pre-construction.
inspection after the trees are removed, inspection for grading and stabilization. Is that okay?
So, okay, so just kind of explain that to me, because when I met with the tree warden, he said we could, he told me what we could cut and stuff, and we told him we would try to save as much as we could around the edges of the water. But there are some trees there's a lot of dead trees that have to come down. So, and then we want to pull the stumps and we're going to grade it. I just don't, I'm not sure. I mean, he needs to come in and inspect it afterwards?
Yes.
That's all?
No, prior to.
No, prior
He
to.
wants
Prior
it
to,
prior
you're
to.
cutting down the trees, and then after the trees are removed, and then after the grading is done.
Okay, well, he already went down there and inspected the land.
Our
We're
consultant.
talking about Matt, or are we?
Yes.
So he already went down there and inspected everything, and I spoke to him, and he,
When you're ready to cut down the trees, give him a call, and he will come down there and just go over the exact trees that you're cutting down.
okay.
That's
Okay,
all.
okay. That's fine.
Okay, are there any abutters? Any questions from the board?
No.
Should be closed, not continued, sorry. Close the public hearing.
Can I say one thing? You understand that after the trees are cut down, he'll be back to inspect the grading, because I know you're gonna cut the trees down and you're gonna probably grade with some gravel or dirt.
Right, it's probably gonna take us a while to
And
cut
s-
it.
And make sure he wants to make sure he's gonna tell you how to stabilize it,
Okay,
plant grass or whatever you're gonna do.
well, we're gonna probably, at that time,
Yeah.
once we're finished, we're probably gonna,
So he'll have a follow-up after the trees are down.
right,
You
we're
understand?
probably gotta put a house on the land.
Okay.
So it's not gonna, it's probably gonna take us a couple of years to cut the trees. It's
That's
not gonna
fine.
be like we're cutting them down in 1 week, So, but that's fine.
All right.
He'll tell us what we need to do when I meet with him then, when he comes down to
Exactly.
the land? Okay.
Right.
All right,
Sounds good to
It's
me.
on the order of conditions as well. Under special conditions, it's listed there what you need to do. So you just need to call Matt
Okay,
each stage.
okay,
And then if you do go beyond, if you think you're going beyond 3 years because the order of conditions is good for 3 years, come in and request an extension for that. If you miss the date to have that extended, you have to file again. So make sure at least 3 months prior to the expiration, which would be August 29th of 2021, like in May, apply for an extension. Okay?
okay.
okay. No abutters. I'll close the public hearing at 6:27.
626.
626.
I make a motion that we issue a standard order of conditions with the following conditions: an inspection by the wetlands consultant for erosion and a pre-construction meeting, an inspection after the trees are removed, and an inspection for grading and stabilization of the property.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
How you doing, buddy?
Does he need to note that Kepke is here? On the tape?
No, I think we know.
Does he have to acknowledge it?
Oh, I checked it off.
Okay, next on the agenda is Lot 15A, Boner Road, ratifying waiver of bylaw to allow building within 75 feet of wetlands. Matt's recommendation is to ratify the waiver.
That's on the attached letter. That just requires a vote, George.
I'll make a motion, we ratify the waiver.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We still,
No, we don't need to sign anything.
Next one on the agenda is 150 Klondike Road, an RDA for stump removal. Finally.
I guess you guys have everything, right? It's been, I'm not sure who went out there and looked at it already.
Matt Morrow, our
Was it
wetland
Matt?
consultant. Yeah.
Was it Matt? Yeah. Must have been.
Yeah, Matt's recommendation is to issue a -3 determination of applicability with erosion protection.
I'll make a motion, we issue with Matt's recommendation, to issue a -3 determination of applicability with erosion protection.
Second. Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You're all set.
All set, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next one has to be continued.
Next to him.
Sunrise Shores is closed. Not continued. That's what you have, what happens when you copy and paste.
Next on the agenda is 44 Alton Drive and NOI for single-family dwelling and wetland replication.
Good evening. My name is Ben Osgood. I'm the engineer, Ranger Engineering for the project. Have Chris
Oh,
Lucas.
Excuse me. I'm going to open the hearing at 6:30.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Ben Osgood Jr., Ranger Engineering, here representing 4 lots, Dudley Realty Trust for this property at 44 Alton Drive. I have Chris Lucas here from Lucas Environmental. He was the wetlands consultant who delineated the wetlands and prepared the wetland delineation reports and impact statement for the development. What we're proposing, it's an existing single-family lot. It's 10,000 square feet, 15,000 square feet in size, 100 by 150. It fronts on Alton Drive. So Alton Drive is here. The lot slopes back from Alton Drive. There was some historic filling. Then it drops off, and there was an isolated wetland here. The little shaded area is the area that was filled by the owner prior to coming to the commission. He was given a cease and desist to do that. So we're here tonight to basically propose a new dwelling with a driveway, 2 fill this area and then replace it in the back. There's a wetland on the back of the property right here. It's been delineated, and it connects to an intermittent stream which runs onto the property in the back. What we're proposing is to replace this wetland here next to the existing wetland. So this wetland right now is isolated. It will become a bordering vegetated wetland. At the same time, we'll enhance the quality of that wetland. There's a lot of invasive species out there. So we're going to remove the invasive species and try to, we developed a plan to improve that wetland and bring it up to a better standard of wetland. These wetlands here are probably, they're just a groundwater seep, and that's why as this stream runs down the hill, it disappears. So it's a bordering vegetated wetland that borders on an intermittent stream that eventually disappears and just has overland flow onto the parcel of land out back. The house is just it's set as close to the road as zoning allows. It's a walkout basement. We've proposed a 2-to-1 slope in the back with it's a reinforced slope, grass slope. We put a fence at the top, so it will enhance the protection of that wetland down below. That's a quick overview. I think we'd best to go to questions if the commission, and I know there are people here from the public want to ask questions.
Well, I have one question. When they filled it in, we issued a cease and desist,
Correct.
and they said they were gonna put up a silt fence and they were gonna maintain it.
Correct.
Well, I have a picture right here.
I was there tonight. It has fallen down, and I'll make sure that gets taken care of in the morning.
We were told that last meeting.
I know, and I'll go do it myself on the way home if I have to. I mean, we'll take care of it.
All right. Any questions from the other board members?
Are you putting up a fence in that slope or a wall?
The slope is a grass slope. It's a reinforced grass slope. It has geotextile fabric on there. It's a 1-to-1 slope.
I think there's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
It's a 1-to-1 slope, which should maintain itself, but just to make sure that it maintains itself, we provided the geotextile reinforcement that'll be underneath the loam. And then we propose a fence above the slope. So if you go out there today, you'll see even after things have been dumped, people have dumped grass clippings and stuff down over the pile. And the fence up at the top will keep people from going beyond the yard area and, keep them from doing that and going into that wetland area.
Are there any abutters? State your name for record and
John Giaquinto, 42 Alton Drive. And about a month ago, there was somebody else here with the plans. So if you
Speak into the microphone,
kinda-
please.
I'd like to know,
Speak into the microphone.
I would just like to know if you could show me, while I can see the picture, where this fence is gonna be and how this yard is going to be designed.
And here's Alton Drive. The house is set back 31 feet from the road. The driveway's on the side. We have, the slope starts behind the house about 20 feet, 25 feet. There's a fence. The fence actually runs from here along the driveway, around the top of the slope and back up. So it actually comes out of the 100-foot buffer zone, so it's fenced around. And we proposed a split rail type fence, something to keep people from crossing over. The slope itself is probably 10 or 15 feet. It's actually not that high. It drops off from elevation 582 to 574, so it's only, 8 feet. And then below that, during construction, we'll place a new line of erosion control, which will be silt fence and hay bales. That will stay there while they build the house. We'll put a line of erosion control between the wetlands and the replacement area to keep any siltation out of the existing wetlands while we build the replacement wetlands.
Is that fence gonna be permanent, or once everything's done, it'll be
It'll be a
removed?
permanent fence. That's a permanent fence that will stay there. It can be in the order of conditions if the commission wishes to do that, that it stay there, and it provides a barrier so people don't go and dump in the wetlands.
So how far from the actual back of the house will that fence be?
Yeah, 20 feet.
About 23 feet.
And anything beyond the 23 feet is just, can't be touched?
Right.
He supposedly,
That slope.
Right. Do you have any more questions?
How are they gonna get what was dumped in there before, how are they gonna get that out of there? Because if they can't just push it back.
Like I said, they'll put in erosion control down, it's actually gonna go further in the woods. They'll clear the trees out of there, then they'll grade the lot. That material, they were gonna use it as fill. Anything unsuitable that they find, stumps, logs, that type of thing, they will remove. When they clear the trees, they'll take that out of there. And that fill will be used to grade the lot.
And to answer your question, they're gonna have to go down there to replicate further anyway, so they're gonna bring the machine down there.
I know pretty much all of it will be unusable, because that's what it was.
Can't hear you, sir.
I know pretty much all of it will be unusable, because that's what they did, is came in and just knocked everything completely over and buried half of the wetlands that was there already.
My name is Michael Du Bois, 2 Jesse Road. I live right across where the gentleman wants to build. The problem that we have there is water. The water goes over to Jesse Road, and he said he's gonna put a retaining pond in. Well, they have one there already, and they can't handle the water because it goes down on Main Street. And when it's backed up on that side of the road, it backs up on Jesse's side of the road.
I
In my
believe that's the,
backyard, in my backyard, I get a foot of water every time we have a rainstorm.
yeah. This is for Jesse Road, not, not Jesse Road, this is Alton Drive.
Okay?
Jesse Road is, about 4 more down.
That's late on this meeting.
All right.
I'm sorry.
You're ahead of yourself,
We're on- yeah,
just a
we're on-
little bit.
We're on 44,
Same area,
44 Alton Drive.
same area.
Yep.
My name is Patricia Byron. I'm not in a butter, but I'm wondering how many feet is the construction from the wetland?
So we will have construction, obviously, of the replacement area will be right against the wetlands. When we're done, our replacement area will be 43 feet from the house. Our fill slope will be 12 feet from the wetland area, so.
Isn't there a law that says that you can only build a construction? It has to be 100 feet away, and then the next 100 feet, you can use 10% of it?
No,
That's not true?
That's not true.
That's the riverfront act.
Yes.
This is not a riverfront.
Oh, now, what are you calling the intermittent stream? I mean, the Potash Brook is perennial.
So Potash Brook, 700 or 800 feet in this direction. So this is right up on Alton Drive. So Jesse Road is a parcel of land, which we're gonna talk about 4 items from now.
Yeah, right?
That's a parcel of land, and Potash Brook goes through that parcel. So it probably, in scale, it's probably way up in here somewhere in regards, in relation to this property.
All right. Well, I asked about the footage because I spoke to someone at the wetlands office in Worcester yesterday, and about
Into the mic.
a perennial stream and an intermittent stream, and she's the one that gave me the information about the footage. So, I'm sorry to
Yep.
be on the wrong page. Thank you.
Again, next hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
There are-
Okay, are there any other butters? Come on down. Want to make sure that you're 100% satisfied.
With that fence that you had proposed to put up, how far from the border of my property will that fence be?
Are you on the right?
Yes.
As you're looking that way, I'm on the right.
This is a 10 scale, probably about 10 feet away from your property.
And
So when we come down, obviously we don't disturb anything on your property. Up in the front of the property, we'll be at the same elevation. We'll probably be a little higher than you, and the water will flow down on our property to the back, so it doesn't affect your property. But there'll be a slope, but the fence will be about 10 feet from your property.
And once all the construction is done, will there be signs posted so when somebody does buy the house, they won't decide to just go in and knock everything over themselves?
I don't know how the commission in Dudley acts, or we do put, they do sell little wetland markers that you can put out here to warn people that it is a resource area. Don't have any problem with that.
This is just all the back, right?
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other abutters? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public.
Continue it.
Oh,
We don't
We don't
have
have
a
Matt.
report from Matt.
okay. At this time, because I don't have a final report from our wetland consultant, we'd like to continue the meeting to our next meeting,
9/19, September 19th.
September 19th.
I can't be here, but I can send somebody. I can send someone from our office, so.
I'll be back from hunting, so I'll be here. All right.
We need a motion to continue.
I make a motion that we continue the public hearing to September 19th.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and second to continue the hearing to September 19th. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Add this picture to it, because I want to see another one after. Add that to the file. Before I think about it, I'm gonna keep on, let's see another picture.
Okay,
Maybe move that one that's on top of it. That's the next one. And I got a note on the top.
this one isn't.
That's the next one, yeah.
Okay, the next one is 66 Eagle Drive in NOI for a single-family house.
There's no report from Matt on this one either.
We don't have a report from our wetland consultant on this.
We'll have to continue.
You can open the public hearing though, right?
Yep.
Okay,
We can-
so I'm going to open the public hearing at 6:45.
Good evening, I'm Norman Hill. I'm an engineer with the Company of Land Planning. That's for you the green cards and the advertisement in the newspaper. Greg Chignaki's here with me tonight as well. He'd like to build a new house. He's been building homes out at Rocky Hill Estates. And this house, new house is going to be on lot 73. The street is up here. Lot goes downhill. The wetlands are out back at the bottom of the hill. Dark black line is the property line, so they put in that block. Orange will be the location control line, go down the hill, across the slope, and then back up the hill. Brown is where you'd like to build a house with a deck on the back, and this is where the driveway would go. And then the yellow is the septic system. So, design it with a walkout basement. So the front yard will be pretty level, then you have the walkout basement. So the backyard's about 7 feet lower than the front yard, and then there's a little flat area in the backyard behind the house before it goes downhill to the wetlands. So we've asked for 2 waivers here from your bylaw. One is, I'd like to build this house 64, just under 65 feet from the edge of wet. Your regulation says it has to be at least 75. But 75 wouldn't be able to meet the front yard setback. So it's just about 65 feet from the house, the nearest point on the edge of wet. This little finger that comes in here, 65 feet. And the other waiver, would you like to have 50
This is
feet?
Eagle Drive.
Well, don't clear within 50 feet of the wetlands. And again, this finger here comes up just to about 34 feet of where we want to put the backyard. So we're asking for that so that people can have a little comfortable backyard. All right? So those are the two waivers.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, you have a regulation that says you can't do any clearing within 50 feet of a wetland.
34 feet.
So we like to clear back to within 34 feet of the wetland. At this point, the wetland jogs in here. That's only 34 feet away from where we'd like to have the lawn in the backyard. All right? So we're looking for two waivers, one to put the house a little too close and one to put the lawn a little too close.
Don't we have a 25
That's a
foot
quick,
touch?
quick overview.
Yes.
I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
It's 25, right?
Yeah, but there's also this in the bylaw as well.
Okay.
I don't know if there are any abutters here. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
It's the same, this little jog right here.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Well, we don't have a report from
No,
Matt,
well, continue the public hearing.
our consultant, so we can't do anything in it except continue the public hearing.
Are there any abutters?
Well, we don't have to continue.
Okay. Well, Mr. Hill, we don't have a report from our consultant,
All right,
so we would like to continue this meeting
that's fine,
to our next meeting,
that's fine.
which is the
19th.
19th.
All righty.
I'd like to make a motion that we move the public hearing for 66 Eagle Drive to September 19th.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor?
One
Aye.
thing I forgot to mention was we got the DEA file number yesterday. So we do have the
Yes, we do.
Okay, a motion's been made in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
Matthew Morrow, M-A-R-R-O.
19 Sunrise
That
Shores.
one's all set to go.
This one's all set to go.
Yeah. The word, the wording on here says continue, it should say close. Once,
Oh,
the rest
Sun,
of them are okay.
all right. 19 Sunrise Shores, a notice of intent for a single-family dwelling. I'll open the public hearing at 6:50.
Thank you.
So, Jason Dubois from DC Engineering and Survey, here to represent Charles Brooks. The property
Again,
is-
into the microphone, please. Raise it up. We can't.
Property is 19 Sunrise Shores, is located on Hayden Pond. The lot currently is a mixture of kind of overgrown brush, a few trees, appeared to be cleared at one time, but since has grown back in. We're proposing a single-family house located in the center of the property here. Hayden Pond is located here. Sunrise Shores is along here. There's currently a single-family house here and here as well. We have a proposed well going in the back here to meet the setbacks for a septic system that would go here. The 100-foot buffer zone
Right-hand side.
comes right through this area here, so it just misses the entire house, but the septic system is outside of that. We do have a note for a sump to catch any well drillings when they drill the well. We have erosion control barrier basically going around the whole back side of the property here. That's also the limit of work. Like I said, there are a few trees located along the backside here that we're looking to take down just to have more access to the lake. This is also in front of the Board of Health right now for septic approval, and they have gone through zoning board as well for a variance for the lot area. That has been approved, so that's basically where we're at. We did get a DEP number yesterday for this project. Has Matt looked at this project yet, or?
Sorry, I can't hear you, gotta yell.
Has
Yeah.
Matt looked at this project yet?
Yep.
Yeah, he has, okay.
All right.
Welcome to Hayden Pond.
What's that?
Tell them welcome to Hayden Pond.
Matt's recommendation is issue an order of conditions. You could ask for a butters though for
Okay, are there any abutters? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:53.
3, yep.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion.
It's a standard order of condition. I'll make a motion, we issue a standard order of conditions for 19 Sunrise Shores.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
and Jesse Road, keeping the DEP number yet. No report from that. And the side house also. For the chicken.
You said Jesse Road?
Yeah, that's an
Okay, next one is Jesse Road. Notice of intent for subdivision.
This one. Sign this one.
Okay,
Open it.
I will open the public hearing at 6:55.
Good evening. Ben Osgood, Ranger Engineering. You representing 4 Lots Dudley Realty Trust.
Can't hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure I yell.
Mr. Osgood, could you try that other microphone instead? See if that's a little better?
Yeah, it sounds like it
That
is.
better?
Yeah.
Ben Osgood, Ranger Engineering. Here representing 4 Lots Dudley Realty Trust. Here for this parcel on Jesse Road. It's a 17-acre parcel of land. It's located, here's Mason Drive here. Here's Alton Drive. Between Mason and Alton, there's a brook crossing right here, and that is our property. We've delineated, this is the existing conditions plan. So we've delineated the wetlands. Chris Lucas has delineated the wetlands, and there's several different wetland resource areas. We have a bordering vegetated wetland that is associated with the Potash Brook, which runs down through the center of this wetlands. We have an isolated, well, it's actually a bordering vegetated wetland that borders on an intermittent stream. And again, this is an intermittent stream that just runs out of the wetlands and disappears. This is the wetlands with the intermittent stream that's on the 44 Alton Drive lot we just spoke about a little while ago. There is a wetland on the opposite side of Jesse Road here. It runs through a culvert, and then it runs into an intermittent stream that just ends, and again flows out over the ground. What I've outlined in pink here are the 100-foot buffer zones, and then the balance of the property is upland, where we're going to propose a development. We have submitted a subdivision set of plans, 19 sheets. I've mounted the utility plan, which kind of shows everything that we're proposing to do. I'll go through it briefly. It is pretty complicated. We're going through the planning board as well. Their review engineer is reviewing all of the drainage. I don't have any comments back from him. We don't have a DEP number, by the way, on this either,
So it has to be continued anyways.
but I will give an overview of what's going on, and I know there's people here that want to ask questions, so. But what we're proposing is a subdivision roadway. It's about 785 feet long. It has 18 proposed lots, and these are the little houses here. There are 3 lots that front on Jesse, and then the other 15 lots are within the subdivision. We have a closed drainage system. What we're doing is catching water, in catch basins, for example, here, basins down in this area, and then another set of catch basins in here. We're conveying that water out into detention basins. And it's all detailed in the drainage report. If you have insomnia and you need something to read, they're usually good. But as you can see, just to look at the wetland impacts and the impacts to to the buffer zones, we're proposing to fill this little bit of intermittent stream. And Chris Lucas from Lucas Environmental has done a wildlife habitat analysis regarding that. But we're replacing that. So what happens is all this water comes off of Jesse Road, runs just onto the site, uncontrolled. We're going to construct a swale and convey that water down along the back of the property, put it into a culvert which goes under the road, into a little detention pond, then into the wetlands. So we're keeping it going in the same location. We're controlling the flow a little bit so that we can maintain our pre and post flows. The only other wetland impacts are buffer zone. So here's the 100-foot line. There's a kind of in red is the 75-foot line. All of the homes are out of the 75-foot buffer zone. We do have work obviously within the 100-foot, and we tried to stay out of even the 50-foot as much as we could up in, a little bit in this area where we have to catch flow and just drain it away from the wetland. We have an intermittent stream that ends, and we need to channel that and bring it along. It ends less than 50 feet from the wetland. Same in this location here. We're channeling, catching that flow, sending it into our drainage system. And then down in here we have buffer zone disturbance, the detention ponds. I mean, obviously we have to put the detention ponds on the downhill side near the wetlands. So, it's mainly a buffer zone project, a little bit of intermittent stream filling. And otherwise we meet all the performance standards of the Act and your regulations. I know I will, having heard some of the questions from the abutters, this brook here comes under the road right in this location. We do not alter the brook in any way. The brook, if it flows over the road now, it will flow over the road later. What we do on our property is we hold back the water so the flows don't increase. We're keeping our flows lower than the pre-development flows, so we're not going to have any adverse effect on that. So we're not going to improve it much, and we will improve it a little bit, but pretty much it will stay the same. So if there's water flowing down through here, it will still flow there like it does today. Chris has done an analysis. There's a program called Stream Stats on the DEP website, and he input this. The design point will be right here, and he takes a look at how large a watershed comes down into this brook, and the size and the makeup of the watershed determines whether or not it's a perennial stream, a river. and is subject to that 100 and 200-foot setback. The analysis shows that it is not a river, it is not a perennial stream, and that's a, that's a DEP analysis. That's not anything that we've done. We go on to their website and do the analysis. So we're not subject to a riverfront requirement. There is no 100-foot, 200-foot riverfront requirement on this project. So I think that's it in a nutshell. Obviously, as I said, this is going through some pretty rigorous engineering review with the planning board, and I know Matt has the plans and he's reviewing it as well. So we will have to continue this to your next meeting, but happy to answer any questions right now.
Does the planning board still use Graves Engineering?
Yes, yes.
Any questions from the,
Good right now.
any questions?
Yeah.
Any questions from the abutters?
Yes.
Please state your name again.
My name is Michael Du Bois, 2 Jesse Road. For 22 years now, I've been dealing with this water. And the gentleman says that they're gonna put a retaining pond down further down. As everyone that lives around there knows that the water comes off the school, and if they impede that coming across Jesse, that backs up the water all the way on my property, going back to the school. They have 2 retaining ponds up, one on the side that I live on and the one down towards Main Street. Now, when the highway came out there to try to clear that with a backhoe to try to get the flow to go down, it still goes over Jesse Road. So if he puts a retaining pond there, it's still gonna slow things down. I mean, it's the same thing that Dickie Angelevitt said to us when he built all our houses up on top of the hill. And then when the school put that school up there, they said, we're gonna build a retention pond, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And every time it rains, I have 1 foot to 2 feet of water in my backyard. And
They're not gonna touch any, he just said that he was not gonna touch anything.
I understand that, but if he slows it down, that's gonna cause a problem even more with flooding on the opposite side of Jesse Road. Because it's a small culvert over there, small piece of pipe, and whenever the rain comes, it goes right over Jesse Road, and then it goes all the way down to Main Street. I'm sure everyone remembered Main Street when it flooded over. That's where the water was coming from. And only when the highway went up there and just dug up a little bit, that it alleviated, but it's still a problem with the water. It's just too much water coming down there, so if they start building down there, it's gonna be a heck of a problem, more.
As I understood, what that gentleman said was that what he's gonna be doing is slowing the water from flowing down into the wetland with the culverts and with that retaining pond. That will slow it from going, the water that's up the hill now, am I correct? And that,
Yep.
what he's doing is the water that's coming from those orange spots now, the circles, in that area, he's going to retain it, slow it down from going into that wetland, the current wetland.
Which would be south of Jesse Road.
Right, but the pipe that goes near your house, he's not touching that at all.
I understand,
And
sir.
all he's getting, he's doing a pipe above it.
So
I
what you're saying is that
understand.
you're worried about the water backing up.
Correct, correct. When you have 2 schools dumping on us, where's the water gonna go? I mean, if you ever go back there when it rains, you're walking in 3 foot of water back there,
That's on the opposite side,
on the
correct?
side that they wanna
So
build in.
his side of the house.
On the
On that
opposite,
side that they wanna build in,
it floods out.
yes. Because it cannot handle the water coming off the school. And then that's why when you come, if you stand out there behind the old Mercury dealership, and you stand behind there, there's water coming across their parking lot. It's because the water wasn't planned to go anywhere but right down in the holding areas where it's supposed to, and it still floods.
I understand what he's talking about.
You know, I offer you to come up there when it rains, and you'll see it yourself. You might as well bring some hip weight boots because you're gonna need them. You know, that's the biggest problem I have. You know,
Water goes
it's
all the way to
the water
Westminster.
backing up.
No, the stream goes all the way down. Yes.
Westminster.
Yep.
You know, and like I said, if it rains, come to Jesse Road. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And everybody that lives on Jesse Road or around there would tell you the same thing. It's ridiculous. Between this lady's house and my house, you can walk and you're stepping in water. My basement, I got to put a sump pump. I put a sump pump in there, and then I had to put another pump in there because that's how much water comes on my property.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to let y'all know. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, where's your property in regards to this drawing? Could you
It's on
just
the
point
opposite
exactly
side of
where
the
it is?
street.
I'm at 2 Jesse Road right here.
Right there? Got it.
So if I could just, I don't disagree that this wetland, it's a lot of water in it, and here's just, these are the topography lines, and they're 2-foot contours. So right here, this is 526. We are working is up at 532. So that's the lowest point. We just have an outlet. So our outlet basically is 6 feet above the lowest point in this wetland right here. So it is a flat wetland, and it probably does flood, but the edge of the wetland, it rises up a couple of feet right away. The wetland itself is lower in the middle than it is around the edge. And then we're back away from the wetland, so it keeps rising up, and we're above any flooding that might occur in here. This is not mapped by FEMA as a floodplain. It's not shown as an occasional area of flooding. It's a brook that runs down here, and I don't disagree. There's water in the woods. You know, on the other side of the road, if that culvert can't handle it, that he will get back up there. The water will back up there. But, you know, this area here, we're at, I think the road is about elevation 540. Down in here, it's elevation 522. So everything is flowing this way at a pretty good clip. I mean, the site basically pitches that way. So what we do down here, when we're dumping out 526, that road's up at 538, 540. We're dumping it out way below that roadway. So we're not gonna have any effect at all.
What's the elevation by where it crosses?
So 538 runs down along the side of the road. Here's 542. I think this is 540 right here, around his house. Yeah, that's elevation 540. The wetlands across the street here is 536, and then it keeps going down to 522 at the end. The little stream channel is actually a little lower, right under the road.
Well, I can tell you, I challenged the board and this gentleman as well, when it rains and come out there.
Maybe they need 2 culverts over there.
I've been down on Jesse Road.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I go to the highway every time. They try to clean that pipe out, which the pipe's so small, and then the other pipe, the manhole they have there, it dead ends there, right off of Mason Road. So the water has nowhere to go but into the woods. And I can tell you, when the rain comes down so hard, it comes down my driveway, goes across the road, and it comes through the woods on the other side of my house, across the road.
That has nothing to do with this, does it? Is the water that's coming behind your house, crossing the road, coming from up that hill right there that he wants to build from, or is it coming from behind your house and across?
It's coming from the school, where the school is up on top of the hill. They're dumping all the
All
water.
right, so that has nothing to do with this development.
Ma'am, what I am saying is that if they do anything to alter that any more than what it's doing now, it's so slow, the water has nowhere to go. So if you stand out there and stand in them woods, you're gonna need some water boots, because there's just so much water's being pumped out on Jesse Road that has nowhere to go. You have up on Susan Drive, and all of that's coming down, and then you have the water coming from the middle school and the high school coming down. It's not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more?
There's a retention pond up in, there's two of them up there.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
They don't own it?
You have detention pond school?
My name's Virginia D. Donato. I live at 10 Jesse Road. I really didn't understand a whole lot about this. I found it very detailed. It is very hard for an ordinary citizen to come to a meeting like this and digest everything they're trying to do. I heard we'll fill in this wetland, we'll create a pond, we'll back this up with this. I don't understand any filling of wetlands. When I built my house, it's when the EPA came out. And I had a brook next to my house, and that brook used to flow. It doesn't flow as much. I don't know what he's referring to as the intermittent brook. But I'm guessing it's that brook, because you can't fill the brook in that's next to his house, I would think.
You can't fill it, no.
Okay, but you're gonna
What
fill in a
number
brook.
house you live?
Sorry, again?
What number?
10.
10?
It's,
Okay.
I think, if I may, the brook
Sure.
I think you're talking about is right here. It runs into a culvert, and this is a different culvert than the last gentleman was speaking about. That culvert's down here, but there is a little there's a wetland and a brook here that flows under the road. And what happens, it just flows under the road, and then it just goes into the ground or spreads across the ground. There's no continuation of a brook or a stream except for a very short piece right here. So what we're gonna do is put a swale along the back of right at the base of the hill to channel that water and get it down to the wetlands through our property. That swale will actually replace any wildlife habitat value that is lost in this area. But this area here is it's all invasive species. It's bittersweet, it's grapes, it's a mess in there. You can't even walk. You have to crawl on your hands and knees. I think the wetland scientist will attest that he had to go crawl on his hands and knees to get through here and do the wildlife habitat evaluation. It's a mess. So it's going to be cleaned out. We'll create a nice habitat along here. Just going to try to promote the drainage, and we don't want to interfere with the water that's coming down there. We want to give it a better place to go.
so where is the water going to go? I hear you saying it's gonna come down from some hilly area?
So the property, Alton Drive is much higher up at
Yes.
the front of Alton Drive. So
Yes.
there's a slope here that comes down, there's water that flows down, and we're gonna capture that. Right at the bottom of the slope, we're gonna build a little swale,
What's a swale?
basically a little brook, that will be at the
Dip in
bottom
the-
of the hill, behind these
Dip in the-
houses, to channel the water through to a drain pipe that will then send it across our subdivision into the wetlands. But right now, it just kind of goes over the land. So we're gonna design it to capture that water and put it through a brook, then into
So-
a pipe, and then into the wetlands.
So, again, is this the first time he's presented this to you?
Yes.
Yes.
I would think you have 1,000 questions. Am I the only one asking them?
Nope. The gentleman behind you is asking some
As
questions.
an abutter, I would think the Conservation Commission has a lot of
Oh,
questions.
we have our questions, yes.
Well, I hope so. Because the last time I came to a conservation meeting was when they were doing the building on Jesse Road. I live at the base of the hill. Mr. Dubois lives in 2 Jesse, and then there's a blank of woodland, and then my house. And all the building that was done, they had plot plans for the first house abutting me. And I stood there and said, why would you put a piece of land so close to a wetland? I said, what is the first thing that person's going to do? What any landowner's going to do, the same thing that he referred to, that other gentleman referred to. They're so close to that Alton Drive area. So I said, those people are gonna wanna increase the size of their lawn. Who wouldn't want to? They wanna make their yard bigger, and it's gonna abut the brook, which was a very big flowing brook at the time. I think the building somehow the building above me altered that flow. Oh, no, Mrs. DiDonato, you can't you could report them if they do that. I said, I'm here talking to you now. I'm not gonna report a neighbor for doing what everyone would wanna do with their land. I'm here talking about it now. So what happened? And they increased their land. It looks very nice. Well, it's 3 people removed. They've sold that house a number of times. Irrelevant. Now, the brook itself is pretty dried up. I noticed some people dumping some things into it. I don't know where that came from. The land itself has been donated to Shepherd Hill Estates. It's not buildable, donate it. That's all I have to say. I don't understand all of this. I don't understand 18 houses. So are there lots set up there? Are there 100-foot lots? What do you have to build with? That's a planning board issue, I'm sure.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
understand that.
The lots are shown here, and there's a lotting plan in the subdivision. But there are lots that all comply with the planning board requirements.
But do you hear what I'm saying? What is the point of the Environmental Protection Agency and conservation if it's only to say, oh, okay, we have wetlands here, let's get a variance and you can do your thing? That's what us ordinary citizens sometimes feel like. We're gonna go to the meeting, we know it's a done deal. I don't mean to be abrasive about this, but I have to tell you, like I feel it is, okay? If I were on the board, I'd be wanting to ask a lot of questions. I'd want to ask questions, again, it's a planning board, about the traffic. Have you been on Jesse Road? All that building above, beautiful houses. There's a lot of traffic on Jesse Road. What are you gonna do with 18 more houses? That's not your call.
Correct.
I understand that, but it's a factor for us landowners. So let's not overlook any of this stuff here, because I don't understand it. I talked to Mr. Calissa today. Do you know who I'm talking about? Chet Calissa?
Well, very well.
I mean, who doesn't respect Chet, okay, for all he's done for the Dudley Land Trust and whatever he goes on doing for the community? He was flabbergasted. He thought that this was wetlands, considered wetlands. It's a floodplain. And I guess they're gonna avoid flooding somehow, aside from Mr. Du Bois. I sympathize with him. I see that part of it. But he says, it is known as wetlands with standing water. What happens when you dig 18 inches down?
Well, I disagree that the whole property is wetland, number one.
Well, maybe
gone out.
not every inch of it.
So what we do, Chris Lucas, wetland scientist, has gone out and taken a look at the wetlands, and he's delineated the wetlands based upon requirements of what is a wetland versus what is not a wetland. We had a site walk out there with Matt. I know you don't have a letter, but he said he's fine with the delineation. He told us verbally he agrees. We went out and looked at it with him, and so the wetlands have been delineated and shown on the plan, and we're working around them.
Are the orange circles wetlands?
No, those are the 100-foot buffer zone.
What does that mean in English?
That's 100 feet away from the wetland.
The wetlands are the green
Well,
circles.
where does the property starts and ends in the rectangle area?
The property, right, comes along here, jogs back. This is the property here. It comes up here and abuts the properties on Mason Drive
All that green area,
and Jesse Road. This is the wetland.
that's all wetland.
This
The
print out
whole
the-
thing is wetland. That's where the water is, that's what floods. This is the real thick area that's right across from your house. We went in there and did some test bits. I saw you that day.
Yes, you told me there were no wetlands.
But
Pretty close to the wetland.
Jesse's field.
to answer your question, our consultant will be out there to verify that. Apparently he has. But also, the planning board's consultant, Graves Engineering, will be out there to make sure that, to double check us. So it'll be checked and double checked.
Will there be another meeting on this?
Yes, there will be.
Will we get another letter, or are you just gonna tell us now when the meeting is?
We'll tell you, when we continue this hearing, we will tell you when the next one will be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please come up.
What are they gonna do about Main Street with the water? They're not gonna keep all that water where he's saying they're gonna keep it. Where's that water gonna go on Main Street?
No, what he's saying is that the water that that's gonna be on their property, they're gonna slow it down and release it slower onto that area. That's what they're saying.
Sir, can I
I
say?
am not an engineer.
No, I understand that, but
Until I hear from my consultant, which I have not heard from yet, I'm not gonna guess.
Okay.
I'm not guessing. I'm just saying what I've seen on Main Street.
That-
Where's that water coming, where's it gonna go? Because it comes, like I said, it comes down that hill.
You're not going to get any more water than you're getting today.
That's what they're asserting right now. And I'm not gonna agree with them because I have not seen any of our reports. So until I see our reports from our guys, I'm not gonna say anything plus or either way,
Okay,
because I don't wanna look like a fool.
right. I just want to know where they say the water's gonna go to,
Yep.
you know? So, thank you.
The water that is diverted.
Excuse me, could you state your name, please?
Patricia Byron, I live downstream,
Okay.
and in the heavy bursts of rain we've had this summer.
Microphone, please.
In the heavy bursts of rain we've had this summer, we have been inundated with water downstream from this at the beginning of Mason Road. And my question is, the water that is diverted at the top, you say will be diverted into the wetland, right? So there's going to be more water going into that wetland when it was originally going in the area where that dried up stream was. So it is going to change the whole complexion of that area. So there'll be more water going in there, and probably more water going into the Potash Brook as it comes down behind the houses, down Mason Road, and it eventually goes into that pipe underneath Mason Road at the beginning of Mason Road and under the sidewalk where the fire station is. It runs along West Main, and then it goes underneath by Marty's. And that's been terrible. The neighbor next to me, who bought my mother's house, he was flooded. His entire cellar was flooded because we live downstream and we get all the, so it backs up where this gentleman is. But if there's more water going into that wetland and into the Potash Brook, it's going to present a big problem downstream.
Okay, well, he stated that with the detention ponds and everything else, is actually the water is gonna be slower going into there. So it'll be less water it'll be same amount of water, but it'll be going in at a longer period of time.
Slower rate.
Stretching,
A
slower
period
rate.
of time, a slower rate.
Am I correct in what you is?
Right, and there's the Stormwater Management Act, which is what we have to follow, outlines what we need to do, and we need to meet those requirements. Part of those requirements, we infiltrate water, and I just, reviewing the figures before the meeting, our requirement is to infiltrate 33,000 something cubic feet of water. We infiltrate over 6,000 cubic feet. Now, I know those numbers don't mean anything, but we're exceeding the requirement by 100%. And we have to keep our flow rates at the same rate with this development as what are there now. So we've done all the calculations, and again, I don't expect anybody in the audience to understand unless they're an engineer, and that's why the engineer is gonna check and make sure I've done it right. Graves Engineering is in the process of reviewing these calculations, and they will tell us, did I do it correctly? Did I meet the Stormwater Management Act? Did I meet the regulations? And, you know, we take water, we channel it, and we have different methods to meet those regulations. We store it, we infiltrate it, and that's what we've done here, so that the downstream effects are mitigated. Now, if there's some problem there now, we are not solving that. We are not solving a problem that's there now.
I just wondered if you'd be adding two. How many holding areas are you gonna have? Is it two?
We have a total of 3 holding areas.
And the water will be released slowly into the wetland?
Correct. And that's where the water all goes there now. All the water from Alton Drive, Jesse Road, our whole site flows. All these properties come this way, it flows, and eventually leaves the property right here in this little stream, the Potash Brook. That's where it all goes. That's where it's gonna go when we're done, but we're gonna hold it. We have a detention pond here, we have a large pond here, we have kind of a large 2-stage pond up here. And so we hold it, we release it very slow. We have some small outlet pipes and structures. Some of the ponds will fill up and they don't drain, they just infiltrate. And we've done the calculation to show that they infiltrate in 3 days, and that's to keep the groundwater recharged. So we don't want to take and pave everything and the water doesn't go in the ground, it just runs down. That's how the problems occur. So we're approximating our pre-development recharge with the recharge out of the ponds.
Well, I just have one more thing to say, and that is if the holding ponds higher than this gentleman's property up at Shepherd Hill or wherever they are, if that's a holding pond and he's still getting the type of problem he's getting, maybe they were built without they were built in 1973, because that's when the school was built. Maybe there are updated ways of controlling the water. I'm sure there must be.
In 1973, there were no regulations about controlling flow. There were none. So that's,
Right.
and that's, these regulations all, the Stormwater Management Act, I think, was 90s, Chris? 95, yeah.
Oh. Well, thank you.
He's higher that way. This is higher than this. It's going that way. This water's not coming from here, it's coming from...
Again, Virginia D. Donato, I'd like to ask one more question. Usually when somebody comes in and wants to do some kind of project that they need approval to, they offer betterments. If you do this, we'll help you do this. Is there any betterment in this project at all?
We're putting some sidewalks on Jesse Road, we're collecting the water, we're putting curbs, you know, other than that.
That's with the planning board. With us, if they're filling in a wetland, it's usually, they have to create another one. And it's usually 2 to 1.
1.5.
1.5? 1.5.
So they're
if they
creating
fill
these
in-
pools of water.
If they fill in a foot of wetland, they
Yeah.
have to give us 1.5 back.
And that's what they're doing with the ponds? They're building these ponds below? No.
Well, that's just to retain water from their drainage system, from all their drainage.
We do not fill any wetlands with this project.
Right.
We alter a short section of intermittent stream, but when we alter it, we're offering a replacement area of 300 feet of intermittent stream. I think we're filling 60 or 120 meters.
What you need to do is, you need to go before the planning board.
Oh, yeah.
And find out what their rules and regulations are, you know, the length of the road and everything else. And they'll tell you what the waivers that they're asking for. And if you want to argue those points, you can.
I just want to understand them.
Okay.
Please don't take this as argumentative.
Yeah,
I'm here to ask questions,
Well, those
just,
ponds just collect water, give it time to dissipate is what it does, those collection areas. They just hold the water until it has time to release slowly through either a pipe or through just groundwater absorbing it, correct?
we have experience of that elsewhere in town?
You see most.
Oh, yeah,
most
every
new
subdivision.
developments, you see, like a bank, you see a pond next to it, collects all of the parking lot water, it's running off.
You're gonna see them in front of your new fire station.
if you look at Cumberland
Where?
Farms,
You're gonna see them at the when they build it, when they redo this,
Well,
the
that's
fire
gonna be
station.
a while down the
You're gonna
road,
see ponds
so-
there.
Yes.
What,
right behind Cumberland Farms, if you look, you'll see a swale right behind Cumberland Farms.
okay,
That's to hold the water.
okay.
one behind Spall's house, which is not big.
They'll fill with water and they'll slowly dissipate.
Okay, thank you.
Drains, I mean, it sinks into the ground.
I'll clarify one point on this intermittent stream that's
Microphone, please.
State your name too, please.
My name is Chris Lucas with Lucas Environmental, on behalf of the applicant. The intermittent stream here had to be classified for regulatory purposes as a stream. This is nowhere near like any traditional stream you've seen. This looks nothing like Potash Brook. Basically, what it's doing, and I've been out there several times, this intermittent stream flowing through here is typically dry. This is being primarily fed by stormwater runoff in Jesse Road. So the intermittent stream north of Jesse Road is typically dry. I have not seen it flowing too often. Most of the water that flows onto the site here is from the road drainage system. There's a separate culvert that comes in there and conveys that water. There's roughly 12 to 16 inches of sand here. Most likely sand from winter activities to maintain the road so people can drive down here safely. It's likely what created this feature. We had to classify it as something, it didn't meet the definition of a BVW. There was a channel through the sand, so we classified it as bank, inland bank, the resource area that would be, but it's not traditionally functioning as an intermittent stream. The regulations don't really account for this, so we had to fill it into that. And what we've done working with Ben is designed a swale to basically replicate that. We have 160 linear feet here when you count both sides of this feature. We have roughly 600 linear feet when you count both sides of this. So we're way beyond the 1.5 to 1. This is a significant improvement. This will help convey some of that sediment-laden stormwater that comes off in the winter, which is an issue. Obviously, we don't want to stop that because it becomes a safety issue if you're not sanding the roads here. So this swale will be a significant improvement over this condition here, which is likely created from the maintenance activities. I just wanted to clarify because this doesn't look like potash in any way whatsoever. And frankly, I wouldn't be here if we were trying to fill Potash Brook. It really wouldn't be permittable. It's not apples and oranges.
Okay, any other questions?
John Giaquinto, 42 Alden Drive. Now, I abut on two sides here, and you had said what the red lines were for, 100-foot buffer zone. Can you just kind of explain what your plans are for within that zone?
So the 100-foot buffer zone activities are regulated under the Act and your bylaw. We do propose some homes 75 feet from these wetland areas. We do propose some grading to build those homes, some grading for channelization of stormwater and that sort of thing, and the stormwater ponds themselves and the bankings and outlet structures that are associated with that. I think it meets your bylaw regulations for the most part, and the homes are 75 feet away. Most of the grading is 50 with the exception of some drainage items. And then that's what we propose to do.
Now, this says town water and town sewer, correct?
Correct, yeah.
May I just illustrate something? May I just point to something up there for a second? Just a question here. Within this zone, is this all gonna be just torn away, knocked down, and this is somebody's backyard, or is there gonna be
No.
something saved within there?
Here's, this right here is the limit of work. So behind, there's roughly 100 to 150 feet of trees on this slope that are gonna stay. But this is the limit of work, and there'll be nothing beyond that. Everything beyond that limit of work will stay untouched.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Hearing none?
We continue on this, right?
Yep, I'll entertain a motion to continue this.
Make a motion, we continue this to our next meeting, September 19th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to continue the meeting to September 19th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
That's where the problem is.
The next one, probably you could just move it to the next agenda rather than, I don't know if there were any abutters to the Dye House work. Somebody did ask about it, so if you want to, you probably could.
Well, is there anybody here for the Dye House? Can we have a,
Well, we need.
can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we continue the public, we didn't open it. But we just moved the Dye House public hearing to the next scheduled meeting.
So we're just gonna postpone it?
No,
To 919, yeah, there's
Move it
no
to
DEP
919.
just gonna move
number.
it, not even gonna open it.
Okay, so we're not even opening the public hearing?
Right.
Okay.
Where's the dye house? Where's it?
Who's on
Okay,
on
a
that
motion's
place?
been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Stevens Leonard.
Aye. And to move,
Aye.
move it to the.
Aye, so we have on a side street.
Aye.
Okay, who did that?
Opposed?
Frank, move.
Motion carries.
Move the dye house.
Who seconded it?
You did.
I did, okay.
Gone,
There was a dye house there.
it's gone.
Odd lot.
Yeah.
Schoolhouse Road?
That one. That's this.
Excuse me?
You mean the one off of
Yeah.
Boardwalk Place.
Marino Pond, you mean? Oh, okay,
On
yeah.
down.
Yeah, so what do they wanna do with that?
Some with
Hold on one
soil.
second.
Some with some soil.
What do we got here?
Sounds like most of it are coming from the school. This guy's.
Should be number one on the agenda, that's all.
They just-
Those better be last.
So yes, the ground dye house, it's all contained. What is it?
Something there.
Yes. What did that take it?
I don't know what's he gonna do with it.
He's
What's going on there yet? I haven't read it.
This is
Put in Dickie's pile, you know? Dickie's pile, maybe,
No.
It's not coming down the hill and crossing this.
What do they use for dye? What's it?
There's nothing, the building's gone. I don't know, it was empty for, that building was empty for,
I've been over there.
The water is coming from this lake.
All thick, just thick, it looks like paint,
He's
white,
afraid that
all the way down, instead of having mud.
instead of staying there for.
It's just from the dyes, I guess, going over for years and years and years. Stephen Leonard used that. They had their own generator there. By the water.
But he was thinking.
See, that's-
yeah, the place stays out as long.
Sorry about that. Okay,
Northwest Schools.
lot number 1, Northwest Schoolhouse Road, an RDA for a single-family dwelling. I don't know, it's not a public hearing, right?
No.
Okay,
All set. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Rob Lucier from McClure Engineering. We're here on behalf of the Gomes. This is Gary and Jen, owners of the property. So we filed an RDA for this parcel. It's a newly created parcel from a much larger lot. And the proposed work in this lot, just a little project overview. So we're proposing it as a 3-bedroom house here with a driveway leading to Northwest Schoolhouse Road. We have a 4-bedroom septic system going in here with straw wattles, 9-inch straw wattles going along here. Now, previous to us being involved with the project, the applicants did a little bit of tree clearing within the on the property. So the issue that we're having is there was some stockpiling done within the 100-foot buffer of some wetlands. So we had a wetland scientist, Marianne DePinto from Three Oaks Environmental. She ended up delineating the wetlands which are here, which I apologize, I should have highlighted all of these, but I just didn't think of it. My apologies. But these are the wetlands here. This is the 100-foot buffer. And there's some stockpiling that was done within the 100-foot buffer of tree stumps and just some tree parts. We're proposing to remove those from the 100-foot buffer. None of the other work is proposed within the 100-foot buffer. Grading, driveway, house, septic system, everything is out of the buffer zone. It's just that stockpile.
Unbelievable.
That sounds good.
Certainly a lot easier. It's a lot,
Okay.
isn't it?
So where are they gonna put the detention pond on this?
Also,
All you gotta do is clean up the area.
so we submitted this to the Board of Health. It's under review. There were a couple comments that Tom Purcell had that we'll be addressing this week. I wanted to hold off on any revision in case the commission had any issues with what we had here.
Except for that clearing.
None of the work.
Clearing the junk
It's a
up.
pile.
That pile.
Yep.
It's a pile of brush.
Okay. So
Does he need to put hay
On
bales around that?
the adjacent property,
Erosion
That's gonna leave.
which would be east rather, isn't there a wetland over there? How far is that from this driveway? Okay.
My property line is my parents.
Sorry about this. Gary Gomes, owner of the property. So my parents own that whole farm.
Yep.
And you coming off of 31, you have the field, then you have the wetlands. It ends, I'd say it's about 300 feet ballpark, because there's about two telephone poles before my driveway.
I drive down there, that's
a good distance.
I live on Tracy Road, so.
Okay.
But I knew there was a wetland over there, I just wasn't familiar. I haven't noticed your driveway.
You barely see it, because it's about yay wide for us to get up in there and clean the lot out.
Well, now I will look for it.
Yeah, now you can find it.
You can see the pile of
There's a bunch
brush.
of high ground outside of the wetland. Goes,
Oh,
it's pretty
it's
high
up.
back there, yeah.
Yeah, it's way up on top of the hill. Yeah, the house is gonna be located at a nice spot on top.
Yeah.
Erosion control?
Very good spot.
Now, one other thing, too, actually, the main concern was that wetlands. When I went out with the wetland scientist, when she went to go delineate this, I pointed out any area that was in here. You're talking about the wetland that's in this
Correct.
area.
Right. Yep.
So I showed her where the driveway would have to be. I mean, if you look at the lot, you'll see the opening in the stone wall. There's only one place really that you can put the driveway, unless you want to do some serious grading, which that's out of the question. But she ended up, she had tape with her. She was making sure that none of the wetlands would be within 200 feet of that driveway, because that was our main concern. It looked pretty good at first, and then I got the call that, oh, I found a finger wetlands over here, and I thought, oh boy, whoops. So, but that was the main concern. Was
Where are
that.
you gonna move the stumps to?
I'm hauling them off to another, rest of the 100 acres on the farm.
Okay.
Now, it's actually to go across the street from 101 Dresser Hill Road is my parents' place. So across, you'll see there's an old field up and back. Instead of being pulled over there.
Okay.
The big red barn, everybody can't miss that one as you come out. Right where Dresser Hill Bay cross.
Okay. While you're removing the stumps, could you put up a silt fence just to protect the?
Just put the wattles around it.
Yeah.
Wattles around it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can.
Just on the downhill side.
Yeah, right
Yep.
along
Yeah,
this
just,
side.
right, yep.
Yeah,
That's all.
absolutely.
We'll do that.
All right.
I make a motion that we issue a negative number 3 determination of applicability with erosion protection for the removal of the stumps and trees and whatever from lot number 1, Northwest Schoolhouse Road.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Tell Chris I said hi.
Are you
Tell Chris I said hi.
Will do.
Barbara and Barbara's son? Yes. I know Barbara and Art all lot. From St. Anne's. St. Anne.
How are you? Good. Yourself?
And no, I'm not coming back.
No, I'm not there either. So, not there either. Yeah, I'm not going back either.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, your parents own St. George's, right?
Yeah. And I know Barbara and Art, they got a new puppy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do.
Thank you. And I'll make sure I can take pictures.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
At
Opposed?
7:47.
7:47. Thank you.
That was a long one.